What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about Thandie Newton's apology, not apology, to darker skinned Black women and African American women, a demographic that she also brought up and singled out in her apology, not apology, that no one asked for, by the way. But before I dive into this video, I do want to make a few disclaimers. One, prior to this situation, I didn't have a beef with Thandie Newton. In fact, I really didn't know much about her, but I have heard of her prior to this situation, but I just didn't really know all that much about her. Two, I do not claim to speak for the collective of darker skinned Black women or African American women, nor do I claim to represent them. That would be disrespectful. And also impossible. No, that's just a no, right? I do advocate for the collective of darker skinned Black women and African American women and just Black women in general, but I don't represent them. Advocacy and representation, there's a difference. Third and last disclaimer, these are my thoughts and opinions about the situation. Again, I'm speaking just ultimately for myself and expressing my thoughts and opinions about this situation. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's jump into this. And, we're going to have a little bit of fun, but we're also going to touch on some serious topics and whatnot as well. So during an interview that Thandie Fig Newton was giving to do some promo for an upcoming movie that I'm not going to name in this video, she somehow, one way or another, it ended up veering into a brief conversation about colorism, her being quote unquote light skinned, I'll say biracial really. And she quote unquote apologized for a few things. And before I get into this quote unquote apology, not apology, I do want to say that this situation could have been handled differently and it could have ended up a lot better and actually have been something of more substance and something that people could actually get something out of that's positive. But unfortunately, it didn't end up that way. So Miss Fig Newton said, I'm sorry to darker skinned Black actresses for taking their dinner rolls and their menus, for taking their twerk and taking their truth. I'm sorry that I'm the one chosen for dinner rolls by casting agents. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter if those African American women were being shady and mean towards me. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being the light-skinned chosen one. So let's unpack this, all right? So, I was having a little bit of fun, but, let's unpack this though, right? So, Thandie Fig Newton said that she's sorry for taking y'all, the darker skinned Black women dinner roles. They act in roles. And the thing is, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that it has happened, but I'm not sure if any darker skinned Black women, whether in the industry or in general, were really coming at Thandie Newton for taking their roles. Maybe this is behind the scenes stuff that she's experienced. Maybe. So I'll cut her a little bit of slack on that. Maybe this happened all behind the scenes and we just didn't see it. But I think at one point or another, this would have came out into the public like it did with like Zoe Saldana and her playing Nina Simone. You know, she also apologized, quote unquote, for taking black women, or I'll just say black women's men. But the thing is, though, like from what I heard, Thandie's been in an interracial marriage for, I believe, over 2 decades. So how did that happen? But I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. Then she also apologized about taking y'all twerk and truth too, and that she can't help it that she the chosen one. Like she's the one that's chosen for these dinner roles by these casting agents over here. And I suppose Thandie been off of darker skinned black women's dinner plate for years. But then again, she looks very thin, so she must not be eating too good off that dinner plate though. And one thing, well, a few things really, but one thing I do want to bring up right here is she could have been made this apology like a while ago. So why now? Why did she feel the need to make this apology now? After all, she did say that she wanted to so desperately to apologize every day to darker skinned black actresses. Yes, yes. And to me, this all seems a bit calculated. To me, this seems a bit calculated. Because she is in a movie that's coming out soon that seemingly no one has heard of or cares to hear about. I mean, she needs to do some promo, and she probably wants a viral moment. She probably wanted to go viral because that would be some great promo for this movie and for her being the lead in this movie, being seemingly the protagonist of this movie. And by now, folks know how to go viral, right? An easy, very easy way to go viral as a celebrity is to come for black women. It's the easiest way to go viral, right? But think about this, though. Before this situation, though, right? Was anyone thinking about Thandie Fig Newton and her upcoming movie that she's in, that she's the lead in? Was anyone thinking about that? Whether it was her upcoming movie or just her, was she really on people's radar like that? Mm-hmm. And again, I don't remember anyone in the public attacking Miss Fig Newton for taking acting jobs intended for black women. I don't remember that. Yeah, there may have been some talk here and there, but I don't think anyone was really lashing out at her. But maybe this is all happening behind the scenes, or has happened behind the scenes. Maybe. And she still took the acting role that was supposedly meant for a black woman in the latest film that she's in, and justifies it. So this apology really is like dead to the bed on arrival. Like this apology, it don't mean nothing. And also during this, apology, not apology, she threw African American women under the bus for some reason. I guess because she may have, either she feels like it's an easy group of people to throw under the bus, or maybe she's had some negative run-ins with African American women. And I'll say she does have a right to tell her story if she legitimately did have negative run-ins with African American women. I'm not saying that she doesn't have a right to tell her story about that. But I'm thinking, like, did it really happen? And if it happened, was it all that bad? And also, did you have other negative run-ins with other groups of people? Because that is something that I want to touch on as well. Right before I get into that, though, I'll say, a bit of a sidebar here, but some people, a couple of people were saying that Thandie Newton's apology, not apology, was giving, quote unquote, Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girl vibes. And, I saw that clip and I did see that clip. And I'm thinking, yeah, it kind of did. It comes off as very self-indulgent, very self-absorbed. And this is supposed to be an apology, and an apology is not supposed to be like that. But I do want to speak on something else when it comes to Thandie, and that is her relation with white women. What about white women, Thandie? Can you share your experiences with white women? Because a lot of times these, biracial celebrities are not as quick to speak on their negative experiences with their non-black side, especially if their non-black side is white, right? But there have been a few who have spoken out about that, like, say, Mariah Carey. I believe very recently, actually, she has spoken out about her experience growing up, and a lot of those negative experiences did circle back to white women and white people in general, but also like white girls, because she was like a young child at the time. Also, Halle Berry has spoken out about her negative experiences with white women, or at least white girls during, kind of like high school, maybe middle school, like that time. And how they were kind of being shady and stuff like that and whatnot. And also, while Meghan Markle has not spoken out about her negative experiences with white women, however, her negative experiences with white women are very much documented, particularly when she got with and married Prince Harry, right? You see how people treated Meghan Markle and the child that she had with Harry too. You see how that went. Y'all see how that went. And I say all that to say that, yes, biracial women can have negative experiences with black women, but they can also have negative experiences with white women too. And I don't know Thandie's story, but I just want to put that out there, because a lot of times when we have these conversations about race and colorism, a lot of times people seem to go almost exclusively for like darker skinned black women as being the villains in these biracial people's stories. And while sometimes that can be true, oftentimes non-black people, especially white people, are villains in the story as well, but they are not being portrayed as they should be portrayed. Why? It seems like sometimes, in some situations, they're afraid to call out their non-black half for some reason. And also, they don't seem to be nearly as, entitled when it comes to their non-black half, right? For some reason, people like biracial folks, particularly those, biracial folks mixed with black, right? That's what we're talking about in this video. Biracial folks feeling entitled to blackness, or like feeling entitled to like being in black spaces, receiving black opportunities, being treated a certain way by black people. There's a certain entitlement that some of the biracial people have, while also having a bit of a superiority complex in relation to black people too. And when they don't receive what they feel that they are entitled to, then it's a problem. Then they have a problem with black folks. But notice that they don't have this sense of entitlement when it comes to non-black groups of people, especially white people. They know not to have a sense of entitlement, because they know that those other groups, especially white, they are not going to play into their sense of entitlement. Not simply because you are biracial. Nuh-uh. You got to come with a lot more than just being biracial if you're going to get some sort of, pedestal, if you will. Not saying that it never happens, but it's not nearly, it doesn't happen like it happens in like the black community. But another thing that I want to mention is, why do some biracial women and even some lighter skinned black women, you know, have to be so extra when it comes to these like colorism issues and things, and like putting on this whole display like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I can't help it that I'm mixed. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I was born light skinned. I wish I was dark. Ooh, I wish I looked dark like you. Now, Thandie Fig Newton didn't say that. She didn't say she wished she was dark skinned. But some of these, lighter skin, particularly, biracial women, and I'll kind of put lighter skinned black women in that for a quick second, kind of tend to make comments like that for some reason. And it's like really embarrassing. Like, dang, can you just stand in your light skinnedness and not apologize for being light skinned or biracial? Because at the end of the day, no one can choose how they're born. It just happens. But, I am a little surprised that she didn't try and throw that in like, oh, I wish I was darker skinned, I wish I was a darker skinned black woman too, like my mama. Don't forget her mama looks like you dark skinned black women. But with all this being said, does Miss Fig Newton, does she truly stand in solidarity with women who look like her mother, darker skinned black women? Or is she just talking? Is this just, some talk that you want to do to get a little bit of attention, a little bit of shine? And personally, I just think she's talking. And she did mention that she mentioned something about taking black women or darker skinned black women's men. So now you a biracial homewrecker, Thandie Fig Newton. Because the thing is, like, she's been in an interracial marriage with a white man since 1998, I believe. So like a 2.5 decades she's been in this marriage, and hopefully it's going well for her. And it seems to be, at least based on the length of the marriage. But with that being said, like, well, in that case, if you've been in a marriage for like 25 years or 26 years, like, what you been up to, Fig Newton? Like, what you been up to? Because how you stealing men if you in a marriage? Right? And also, like, she didn't steal a black woman's man. Technically, really, she took a white woman's man. And I'm thinking, has Thandie Fig Newton apologized to white women, to that group, to that collective, about taking one of their men yet? Well, when she does that, y'all, let me know, because I want to see how that goes. Also, the lead acting role that she has in this movie, which is based on a book, was supposed to be for an older white man, actually. Because the thing is, they based this movie on a book. In the book, like, the protagonist was an older white man. So technically, she took an acting role from an older white man first before taking the role from black women. So will Thandie Fig Newton apologize to older white male actors for taking one of their roles? Probably not. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. All right. And also during her interview, you'll notice, like, go look back at that interview. Um, the one that ET Canada posted. If you look at that interview, you'll notice that she keeps looking off to the side during her apology, not apology, almost as if she's reading from a script. Like every so often, she'll kind of like stop talking, look to the side, and then look back in the camera, start talking again, or either start talking again, then look back into the camera, almost as if she's like either reading from a script or a teleprompter. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just being a little harsh. Maybe. But another thing that Fig Newton mentioned is about representation. Thandie said that it has been very painful to have women who look like my mom feel like I'm not representing them. And the thing is, well, you don't represent those women, though, Thandie. You may represent your mom because you're her daughter, but you don't represent the collective of darker skinned black women or African American women or black women in general, and that's okay. You represent biracial women. You represent women who have a black mom and a white dad, perhaps as well. Just like darker skinned black women can't represent biracial women in their experiences, you can't represent black women, especially darker skinned black women, in their experiences. And that's okay. But of course, this confusion sort of comes about because variety is often emphasized when we talk about black women and kind of like the perks of a black woman, quote unquote. That will often come up, right? Like, oh, black women come in so many different skin tones, shades, textures, varieties. Oh my God, the black woman can look like anything. Wrong. No, right? That type of thinking is how we ended up in this situation to begin with. Not only with Thandie Fig Newton, but just in general with other folks too. Like, entirely black women's fault. Black women do play a part in it, but it's like a lot of other factors into play. So I'm not going to put the blame solely on black women for that, right? But it is something that needs to be addressed at one point or another when it comes to establishing what a black woman looks like, what we will accept as a black woman and not a black woman, right? And I know people gonna go to the one drop rule and, one drop of black blood make you blacker than Blackistan. One drop of black blood, baby. And it's like, no, that's just was a law that came out of, racism and white supremacy in order to make sure that black people, and more particularly people who are biracial, didn't have access to, certain opportunities and certain social capital that white people had access to. And also the one drop rule, I believe, is like off the books. Of course, it's still in play in society, of course, but like as far as a law, I believe that is actually off the books. And also that is an American law. I don't think that was something that was implemented, throughout the Americas, throughout the world. I think it was just an American thing. But Thandie also says that in the UK, she is considered dark-skinned. And she's always described herself as dark-skinned before coming to the United States of America. I find that to be strange, and also some people who live in the UK posted some comments in people's videos about this, saying that basically no, in the UK she would be considered lighter and biracial, not dark skinned. She's not considered dark skinned in the UK, at least from what people in the UK were posting in the comment section. I don't live in the UK, so I can't say, but I feel like they probably are telling the truth. And then she said when she came to the United States, she was told like, oh, you're light skinned. Oh, you're effing light skinned. Oh no. By like, African American women. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if the discrimination that I receive came majority from African American women. I had internalized prejudice because of that, but I got over that and I took this role and I played it. I played it like no other darkie could. I sure did. Please support this movie, darkies. So again, we all know that Thandie Fig Newton don't got a problem taking black women and darker skinned black women's dinner rolls. But apparently she hasn't been eating enough of them dinner rolls because she's looking a little thin still. Then she was saying she received more prejudice from black people and African American people than anybody else. Anybody else. And she said, my skin tone was more problematic, right? It wasn't my race, it was my skin tone. Way more problematic. And I'm just so happy that me being the light-skinned chosen one did not interfere with this opportunity this time. Thank you. And the whole thing kind of did come off as like a bit of an act, a performance, And then before I go, I do want to mention this one thing. And that I feel like some people are going to come through, at least a few are going to come through and be like, oh, nothing's ever good enough for dark-skinned black women. She's apologized, and y'all want to rip her apology apart. Mean old dark-skinned black women. This is why no one likes you. And the thing is, like, not really. I don't think dark-skinned black women are just like, at least in my opinion, I'll say, I don't think they are just impossible to please. I think at times probably even make it a point to try to be easy to please so that folks don't have a reason to lash out at them. But in this particular situation, this wasn't good enough. Period, point blank. This just wasn't good enough. An apology, not apology, is not something that black women need to be jumping up and down for joy about. And I really hope that people don't think that darker skinned black women and just black women in general are supposed to accept any and everything that comes their way. That they're just supposed to just get full off of people's crumbs that they throw at them. But, that's just my opinion. That's just what I think. What do you guys think? Do you think that Thandie Fig Newton's apology was something genuine? A genuine apology, or was it an apology, not apology? What do you guys think about all of this? Asking black women, but especially darker skinned black women, are you angry at Thandie Fig Newton for taking your dinner rolls, your menus, for taking your twerk and your truth? Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.